Welcome back, everyone. It looks like there's a brand new look at Marvel's Avengers Doomsday, so we'll break it down because there's a whole bunch of big reveals. First looks at Robert Downey Jr. as his version of Doctor Doom, and a lot of confusion if there's some Secret Wars first looks in here. Most people think that this is just from Avengers Doomsday, and there are some reveals about other Marvel series, like a canceled Iron Man 3000 series with Morgan Stark, who's older and doing a lot of Iron Man-based stuff, like racing, another version of Joe Costa, like a bunch of other things besides Avengers Doomsday. So we'll try to just stick to the Doomsday stuff for this video, and I'll try to do videos for some of the other stuff too, like that canceled Iron Man show. I can already hear everybody right now like, wait a minute, there was a canceled Iron Man show? What is wrong with you, Marvel? Release this right now. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. So the reason why we have all this stuff is because one of the artists who work on some of the other Marvel series posted all this stuff, and it seems like they were working on Avengers Doomsday in some of these other shows for a while. Like, there are a couple big reveals from a couple other big shows, deleted scenes, things that didn't make it into the final version of shows that have already aired. So that's why people know that this is meant to be legit, like this is actual real art. It isn't just like some random user making fan art. This is real Marvel art. First big thing is Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom. This is our first actual look at the character. Look at him on his throne here. Not clear if he's in Latveria because this is Avengers Doomsday. A lot of people think this might be on a version of Battleworld, but that would mean that the timeline of Avengers Doomsday is very different because it seems like they're adapting a version of Time Runs Out, and his Doctor Doom in the movie will be similar to Doctor Doom during Time Runs Out. In the MCU, coming from another universe, which is supposed to be our first look at the end of the Fantastic Four movie, so a lot of people think that he's going to be the Doctor Doom of that Fantastic Four universe than coming to the MCU. But he does look a lot more like actual Doctor Doom than I was expecting. It isn't a blend of Iron Man and Doctor Doom together. There are a lot of questions about what they were going to do with his character, but the way that Kevin Feige and the Russos talked about it, he wasn't going to be an Iron Man variant who was just calling himself Doctor Doom. He was going to always have been Victor Von Doom in the alternate universe that he came from. So my big theory is that he would have just been born to Howard and Maria Stark, and something happened to them, like they died, and then he was adopted as a baby by the Von Dooms, and they raised him as Victor Von Doom.
New mask. Same task.
That would be a way to explain why he looks like our Tony Stark, because he has the same biology functionally, but he never thought of himself as Tony Stark. He was never named Tony Stark because his parents died before they could name him. Next big image is a little more telling because it has a version of Doctor Strange in it, and this actually looks more like it's on Battleworld because he's wearing the white costume from Secret Wars instead of the traditional green one from normal Fantastic Four comics. Notice it almost looks like a scene right out of Marvel's 1602 with all the characters. This even looks like Yelena Belova here has captured someone and is bringing them in front of Doom. I can't tell who she's captured though, who this is supposed to be. You can let me know in the comments who you think this is meant to be. They kind of did a version of that during What If Season 2. I was kind of upset that they didn't spend more time doing that whole genre inside Season 2. Like, you could have done an entire season of 1602. Currently, streets are saying that this is meant to be our MCU Doctor Strange post Battleworld. So the whole concept of Battleworld, Time Runs Out, Secret Wars, God Emperor Doom is that it sounds like in the context of the MCU version of this, Doctor Doom, or Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom, will be collapsing the rest of the multiverse somehow and become God Emperor, creating Battleworld or putting everybody that survives on Battleworld, like a version of everybody on Battleworld, which may or may not just wind up being a version of the TVA's Void. Like, they might just use the Void planet for Battleworld. Just because functionally that's kind of how it already works in the story of the MCU. But the idea is that Battleworld was originally meant to be a creation of a bunch of fragments of remaining universes, so Doctor Doom collapses the rest of the multiverse to save it into a single world, calls it Battleworld, and then rules over it with the power of the Beyonders, upgrading him to God Emperor Doom status, like crazy OP Doctor Doom, and everybody else just works inside this scenario that he's created. So all the characters either serve him or he's changed their alignment, like Sue Storm of the Fantastic Four, who he's obsessed with, becomes his lover, all because he's been so horny for her his entire life but hasn't been able to have her. Reed Richards' children think of him as sort of like a surrogate father. In Doctor Strange begins working for him, but like you have the Thor Corps, you have Greenland with a bunch of different iterations of the Hulk from the multiverse, which is also featured in one of these first looks. And the whole idea is that the day-to-day of Battleworld during the Avengers Secret Wars comics is that Doctor Doom lords over it like an emperor, which is why they call him God Emperor Doom.
I see a suit of armor around the world.
Like he'll sit and hold court where people will petition him like a traditional emperor or a king. So I'm kind of thinking that the people to the right of him here, like the woman and the little kid, are actual Sue Storm and Franklin Richards, because it was another first look at the Fantastic Four that had a bunch of Franklin Richards in it, which I'll probably do a separate video about too. Seriously, there was a lot of stuff that posted, and not all of it was from the same movie or the same TV show. This would actually flow, though, with what people have said about the story of Doctor Strange through Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Benedict Cumberbatch released a whole bunch of details, but then walked it back like a couple days later saying, never mind, don't listen to me, I'm wrong about all that stuff. He was mistaken about which movie he's in. He's going to be in both of the movies, Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. So it sounds like his plot will be similar to Doctor Strange during Time Runs Out in the comic book Secret Wars, where eventually after the Battleworld of it all, like after Doctor Doom becomes God Emperor Doom, creates Battleworld, he begins serving him. But because of the way Doctor Doom does all these things, he basically changes everybody's memory so they don't remember what came before. But it sounds like they'll be changing that a little bit to explain how people start remembering the original universe or the original multiverse as it existed before God Emperor Doom put everybody on Battleworld. Because at the beginning of the original Avengers Secret Wars story in the comics, everybody thought that they had always existed on Battleworld and the multiverse or the universe only was that one world. Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom just wipes everybody's memory when he does put them on Battleworld. The way that everybody finds out what's really going on and what Doctor Doom really did isn't until other characters that survived the destruction of the multiverse show up on Battleworld after Doctor Doom created it. My assumption is that some of this plot will be a little bit different from the movies. They tend to simplify a lot of that stuff for the movies, and the comic book runs for all that stuff went way, way longer and had way more stuff than they'll be able to fit in both of these movies. So at least at some point, it feels like Doctor Strange here, MCU Doctor Strange, will figure out what Doctor Doom did and try to work against him to remake the multiverse. This also raises a very important point that people have been talking about since they announced Robert Downey Jr. was going to be Doctor Doom. Mask or no mask, because we are talking about comic book Doctor Doom, how much are they going to change the character?
The most important character in all of the Marvel Universe.
And all these scenes show him under the mask, but I think what they'll do, because they're making this for a casual audience who don't read all the comics, they want you to know that it is Robert Downey Jr., so when they introduce him for the first time, we'll probably just see him in the mask, but you'll hear his voice, so you'll know that it sounds like Robert Downey Jr. Then they'll say the actual face reveal, like the mask rip moment for Avengers Doomsday, where all the Avengers characters in the MCU realize that it looks just like their friend who died. Then at some point he puts the mask back on, and we see him in the mask also during Avengers Secret Wars. Then at some point in Secret Wars, the mask also gets ripped off again. So just expect them to do both mask off and mask on moments in both movies. Next big scene is what looks like a scene from Battleworld in Greenland with a bunch of different Hulks. So I believe this is meant to be Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, with Tatiana Maslany's She-Hulk confirming that she is coming back, or they're planning on bringing her back for Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars. And I think this younger looking Hulk with the beard is a version of Scar, son of Hulk, like this is just Hulk's son. Everybody's been wondering when we're going to see Scar come back, like we last saw him during She-Hulk, so it makes sense that this is sort of like a replication of that scene from the end of She-Hulk, just them all in their Hulk form. Notice everybody behind them in the town, like all these regular looking people on the street in this market, are in Hulk form, which just screams Greenland from the original Secret Wars Battleworld. That was meant to be a portion of Battleworld that was ruled by the Maestro version of the Hulk, very evil version of the Hulk, full of Hulks from the multiverse. He had his own subplot during Avengers Secret Wars where the Maestro was basically trying to overthrow God Emperor Doom using the power of all of the Hulks that he commanded. We will see if they wind up using that during this movie, if we don't see Maestro, or if Edward Norton comes back as the Maestro. That would be really badass if they had Edward Norton as the Maestro. Then probably one of the other biggest reveals here is Damon Idris, if you were confused who this is Damon Idris as a version of Black Panther. And I think what they're doing here, because there's been rumors about this, I did a video a while ago about how they're going to introduce an aged up version of Black Panther, kind of recasting, but not really recasting the character. I believe this is also meant to be on Battleworld because you notice the panther in the mountain face there. That's not from Wakanda. Going full Thundercats with Black Panther here.
My name is Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Challa.
I believe this is meant to be the young T'Challa Jr., original T'Challa's son, just aged up, and that's how they're introducing the adult version of the character to the MCU, and it'll just continue to be whoever this is, Damon Idris, or if they cast somebody else and it winds up being a different actor after Secret Wars. This is basically how they bring back an adult male Black Panther who is T'Challa. Like, everybody wanted T'Challa to come back, but this is their way of doing it without just completely rebooting the character and introducing an original T'Challa again, recasting traditionally. So it's sort of like Marvel trying to have their cake and eating it too. But notice how different his Black Panther suit is. It looks like it's inspired by his grandfather's suit and maybe some of his ancestors' suits before him, because it does look a little more old-timey with the decorations, a little more flair, a little more flash, the way that T'Challa, like original T'Challa, did not like to be super flashy. You also notice he's wearing the cape, which reminds you of Marvel Knights Black Panther. We also get a couple of variants on that too. These are just meant to be different versions. It seems like they're just trying to figure out what this new Black Panther suit looks like. Just another variation without the cape, without the gold. Everybody let me know your personal preference. Which Black Panther suit do you like for this new Black Panther? If we're just talking about Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars here, I would be totally fine with them going with the super flashy gold highlight in cape suit. Then when we get to Black Panther 3 or Black Panther 4, wherever we actually see him introduced in the traditional MCU after Secret Wars, then it'd be totally fine if they want to change his suit again and make it less flashy. Then probably one of the other biggest scenes here is of the Young Avengers notably, but I know there are a lot of questions about what's going on here. So it's Wong, Star-Lord, Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, then you have Cassie Lang, Stature, or whatever they're going to call her. A version of Tommy and Billy. Notice Billy is wearing his suit from the end of the Agatha series that he just got. They briefly teased Tommy at the end of that, but they only showed you like the bottom half of his legs and his feet. They didn't actually show you his face because they hadn't actually cast an actor yet. Supposedly we're going to meet that Tommy actor during the Vision series, or Vision Quest, whatever you want to call it. They're just calling it Vision for right now. The episodes are supposed to come in 2026. So I'm actually expecting it to air either right before or right after Avengers Doomsday.
Who knows? I don't know. I don't know who we're going to see. I still don't know. Yes. You can see anyone you want.
It's going to be a little bit weird next year with all the stuff that's releasing, like the new Spider-Man 4 movie, also supposed to release after Avengers Doomsday, but before Secret Wars. So how are they going to explain Spider-Man being in Doomsday if they have some scenes of Doomsday on actual Battleworld? I've already done a couple of separate videos about that, basically doing the Ant-Man and the Wasp thing where you basically do like a post-credit scene where things sync up, but most of Spider-Man 4 takes place before they wind up on Battleworld, even though they're releasing the actual movie itself, Spider-Man 4, after Doomsday. Not all the Marvel movies take place in a completely linear way, even though by the end of the movie they try to sync things up a little bit, or at least place them in the timeline, or at least give you a vague idea of where they take place in the timeline. Then we have Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, in her older version of the suit, not the one during the Marvels movie, but she is wearing her bangle, and behind her is actually X-Men character Dupe. There are a lot of questions about who this was when this posted on Twitter because not too many people were familiar with his character. Like, is this Slimer from Ghostbusters? Are they doing a Ghostbusters Marvel crossover for Doomsday? Dupe is actually an X-Force character. Kevin Feige and the Russos said that we'd be seeing more X-Men characters pop up in the movies before the X-Men reboot movie, which isn't happening till after Avengers Secret Wars, and the little soft reboot that they're doing on the MCU with that. So this just seems like one of those examples, like, oh, random X-Men character just showing up in the movies. In canon, his fictional backstory inside the Marvel comic books is that Captain America said the US government created him during a secret Cold War weapons project. Unable to learn English, he spoke an alien language, which somehow people just learned to understand anyway in just like some weird way. Kind of like Slimer talking in the Ghostbusters movies where he just kind of mumbles gibberish, but people can kind of understand him a little bit. He wound up joining a version of X-Force as their official videographer, and the way they explain his powers is sort of like a Deadpool kind of explainer where it's a little bit ridiculous, and he seemingly manifests whatever power he might need at any given moment, so technically it makes him pretty powerful. He's supposed to have genius intellect and psionic powers, possibly omniscient. I think that's more of a Deadpool joke where like he just manifests crazy information when they need to reveal it in a comic book for exposition purposes. Obviously, he has levitation, he can fly. He can change his size and shape at will. He has superhuman strength, durability. He's got a Wolverine and Deadpool-like healing factor. He can seemingly resurrect himself and open dimensional gates. His list of powers just goes on and on and on, like he also has magic abilities too, which would explain why he's hanging out here with Wong. Basically sort of a catch-all type of character that writers can use to accomplish whatever they need to do inside an actual story. The way they use the Deadpool character a lot of times, where like he'll break the fourth wall and just do whatever needs to be done based on the story, whatever the writer and the artist want them to do.
Who knows?
Whoever tickles your fancy.
Anybody in the Marvel bag could show up in this movie.
But everyone posts all your reactions to all these in the comments below. These are the only ones that I saw that were just for Avengers Doomsday. Like I said, there's stuff for like a canceled Iron Man 3000 show. Like I Love You 3000 because it's Morgan Stark, but she's an adult and she's doing a whole bunch of Iron Man stuff, playing with armors and racing like Iron Man did. No idea why that show got canceled. They said that it was going to be in the tone of like a Spider-Man type of series. So I think they just didn't want to do too much Iron Man stuff because of all the Robert Downey Jr. Dr. Doom stuff that was going on the next couple years with Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Sometimes this is how you find out about the craziest stuff that Marvel was working on that they never talked about. Like, there was a secret Iron Man show? Please show me all those episodes right now. One of the great crimes of Marvel is that oftentimes, if not always, the concept art, like the ideas they have for movies, are always way more cool than the stuff that actually winds up in the movie itself. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that they don't show in any of these images here. This is just like a small fraction of the stuff they're going to be doing during Doomsday and Secret Wars. The Russos talked a little bit about what was going on during that, like I said, that clip that I put earlier in the video. There's going to be all kinds of stuff going on, all kinds of characters, all kinds of surprises. What I'll probably do next is a video for this canceled Iron Man show or the Fantastic Four stuff with Franklin Richards and Silver Surfer, like all the other first looks for the other big shows. So I'll try to post that stuff as soon as possible. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that. Everybody click here for that brand new Fantastic Four video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for that Iron Man video. I'll also update the link for that as soon as that is done. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.